Good evening. I'm Dr. Gus Penix, President of the Nicholas County Board of Education. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education, January the 25th, 2021, to order at this time. Would you please rise and join the board in a moment of silent reflection? It gives us the opportunity to reflect on those things for which we have to be thankful, but also to clear our hearts and minds for the business we're going to talk about here tonight. So a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you. If you would, join the board in saluting our country with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Sherry, do we need to turn? Do you have a record? Do we need to turn the machine on?
She said since Chris tapes it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you. Our secretary is absent this evening, but she, as you just heard, is joining us online, so we will continue forward. Item 3 on this evening's agenda, we do not have any minutes to approve this evening, so we'll go on to item 4. There are no recognitions tonight. And at this time, I'm going to stop and ask if the board would mind if we let the architect and our construction manager present to us at this time. And we'll move, this will just be superintendent's information. Item 9, we'll move it up to this time, so that they can get back on the road and have decent travel. They've got to go a long way tonight. So, is that okay with the board? Anybody have a problem? Okay, I'll turn it over to our architect, Mr. Dave Ferguson.
Chris Campbell and I, as Chris is getting us ready, we'll have a little slide presentation as to where we are on each school project. Oh, you're fine.
See it, I'll break my back.
Corey's getting the front row seat.
And this is just like a snapshot of what, we'll show a picture of the site plan. We'll show a picture of the elevations of some of the buildings, both buildings. The Cherry River Elementary School is more finalized as far as like the materials and those kinds of things. The Glade Creek is more conceptual because that's where we are with the committees that we're working with. So we'll start with Cherry River. Chris, you want to go over the site plan?
Sure thing. So for those of you here, this kind of outline located here is the existing building. So then you can see that there is an addition to the northeast, to the north side. I'll orient you here a little bit. This is Riverside Drive here. Cherry River is located here. The bridge that comes across the river to get to the site just on the edge of the screen there. So with the existing building located here, we're showing additions here to the northeast, on the north side, and mostly on the west end of the building. This will allow the way these are shown, this is going to be phased construction, which will allow the building to stay in operation the entire construction duration of the project. If I'm in your way, please just say move. Just to kind of a couple things. So we are putting this is kind of the location of the existing entrance now. This entrance kind of comes up, loops, and goes back to Riverside Drive. This is actually going to decrease. You'll actually come down off Riverside Drive. This will actually go down, and all of this building is all proposed at the same elevation to match the existing floor line of the existing building. That will allow us to actually connect this connection at Riverside. We've got this connection here coming down, and then we're going to create a new drive lane that goes along the riverbank. It'll be a service drive for the back of the building, but it'll allow us to get access on all 4 sides of the building. We are showing a fire tank here and a small pump house building. That's what you see located there. So this is the view from the Cherry River. This is the dining room. So the dining room is actually an L-shaped part of the structure. Would be the back portion of the kitchen located here. This is that service drive, but we're also showing an outdoor dining area. But that is all facing the river. And then what we're showing here is an activity school entrance. We do have parking on the west end of the building, but we do have the bulk of the parking, which is in the lot that's being constructed in the northeast. Because there's more parking on the northeast, we need to be able to, for activities located in the gym, the auditorium, those kind of spaces, we need to be able to get people moving from one area to the other. So along this driveway that's facing the river, we've developed it to have a large scale sidewalk that will walk all the way around, and will be the separate activities entrance, which that can be opened up, and you can have activities in the gym, auditorium, we could do the band room,
Dining,
the dining room, and the auditorium area, and keep all the other academic areas completely locked and isolated off.
That's another view of the same.
So what you're seeing is it's a combination of there's stone cladding on the bottom. That is a manufactured stone veneer. We do have wood truss construction, and then that's actually metal wall panel, but it's actually siding panels that mimic the wood, along with a metal roof on that portion of the building.
This is river facing?
This is river facing. So all the windows, those are facing north. So we'll get nice north light. You won't get harsh direct sunlight into that.
You decided to close all that in on your original drawing. It was all open. On this one,
That's not the same entrance.
that's not the same entrance.
No, that's actually the elementary school entrance.
Where is it? Okay, right there it is.
So this is the high school entrance on the west side. The rendering that you see there, which that's pretty much still intact, that is the entrance that's occurring on the west end of the building, or I'm sorry, east end of the building. This is west end of the building. East end of the building, that is the elementary school entrance. So that entrance is still intact. It is taking on this kind of language. So they look very similar on both ends of the building, but there is no question about where the main entrance is located. So on the high school side, which this shows you, back up, I'm getting in Libby's way.
No, you're fine.
So this is basically band room. This is secured entrance here with administrative office. And then as we come around the corner there, you'll see the auditorium, kind of this high structure in the background.
So this end faces a sawmill.
Yes, that is correct. And this is just another close-up of that. To give you an idea, Riverside Drive is going to be back here behind it. So interiors perspective, so this is actually in the existing building. This is going to be, it's right now currently where the elementary school media center is located. This is a revamp and a remodel of that area. We've got multiple locations, so this kind of stays the same corridor. You've got, if you were to come back this way, this gets you where the main entrance is to the elementary school. It brings you into this main center hub of the building. The existing activities room is down this hallway. The classrooms that go out towards the river, towards the north, are down this hallway. This takes us down towards the west, which the dining room is located just around the corner here. And as you turn the corner here and go down, it takes you into the middle school and the high school part of the building. But this is kind of the center hub of that space.
So elementary is going to be basically the same as it is now? Is that
In the
correct?
same location.
But
We are
there are some renovations that happen.
Yeah, the entire building is getting renovated from the interior and exterior. When the project is completed, the exterior of the building, and I'll even refer you to that board, most of the building to the left of the entry is existing. We're actually recladding and bringing that building up to code by improving the insulation on the exterior, improving the roof insulation. So when we're done, you will not be able to really see any of the parts of the exterior of the existing building. We're also renovating the existing classrooms as well. This is the dining room. So the dining room is actually two pieces. It's an L-shaped piece. This part here, you've got kitchen is located here on the right. Main portion of the dining room here. This is a dividable wall located here. And then you have dining, which is the same volume here. It's turned and it goes this direction. So these windows are what overlook out towards the river.
So there's inside and outside dining.
Yes. Yeah, we do have an area for the ability to have outside dining, but we do have it inside, and then they can come out through those doors.
You can see a little bit, people sitting outside these doors here where that fence is outside the door. So there's some outside space. Depends on how the administrators want to deal with it.
Is that for elementary, middle, and high school?
Yes.
What's the capacity?
Total dining capacity,
I can't remember. It's exceeding, I know we can feed the elementary and middle and then the high school. So, because there's 2 lunch periods.
2 lunch periods. It takes care of both the entire school with 2 lunch periods. And it has a little bit of room because not all the grade levels are all spaced around the same size.
The divider between the, looks like garage doors,
Yeah.
dividers, that of course can be opened up and you can have
You could have a big event there if you wanted to. You could open that up and go through both, just open that up and use both sides at the same time.
To give you an idea of scale, that glass divider is actually a little over 12 feet tall. Bottom of the trusses are right around 18 feet. And you're looking at a space that's just shy of 50 feet wide. And I believe it's 120, is it on?
I don't remember.
I can't remember. I think it's 100, maybe we'll call it 100 feet in length. Almost a 2-to-1 ratio of space. But then, this dining room is basically repeated on this other side of the glass wall. So it's the same volume, just going back this way, perpendicular to this room.
So it won't be all utilized at the same time. I mean,
So it is designed, so what we've done is we've put this wall in here. Probably some of this will more than likely get frosted. We do have doors on either side of this, man doors, that these things can be propped open. We can put them on magnets or we can have them so that they can be closed or open. But this way that you can have food, people going to the kitchen and back and forth through this area here, but still keep them separated depending on the use. And it's all really, realistically, it's all in the scheduling of how that's accomplished.
The kitchen's over to the right.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's over here.
Yep.
That's just another view of the,
Yeah, that's the high school.
so each school has its own entrance. Like the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school all have separate entrances like that.
So so this is the middle high. This is a combined middle high school entrance. The elementary school has its own entrance on the opposite end of the building.
in the beginning, there were 3, and we kept meeting with the middle high folks, and they said, why don't we just consolidate? That was their idea, to consolidate their students at one entrance.
If there's ever a concern, they are the ones that asked to do that. If there is a concern, what they have listed as the activities entrance can
Correct.
actually be an entrance for the middle school.
At one time, that was the area that was the middle school entrance.
Okay.
Where's the gymnasium parking?
So gymnasium's going to be located here,
It's behind this.
behind this section here.
And there's a separate entrance there into the band room, is that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah, there's a separate entrance to the band room. This corridor that goes through here is actually, this is a very wide corridor. It goes past the gymnasium. So it'll take all the traffic of the gymnasium. It'll take the traffic of the auditorium, which they're on opposing sides of one another. But it also feeds, the reason it does it is it goes back and it kind of feeds the heart of the middle school and the high school, where we see most of those functions are going to be shared. We see a lot of those spaces are going to be shared between middle and high, so making a combined entrance for middle high made a lot of sense here.
What's the area right there? It looks like the stone, the taller stone, yeah.
This is just an entrance going into the band room.
Oh, that's the band room.
So we do have an exterior entrance located there. Being able to take instruments, things in and out very easily.
You have a schematic of the auditorium?
Not to show
Not to
today.
say, all right, we have one though.
Do you have blueprints already?
We have schematic design ready to submit, and we have a great deal of design development ready to get pricing. So yeah, we have floor plans, elevations, sections. We know how this is going to be built. That's how we're able to model what we have. This
Okay, now, are you working on the permits required by the city?
for the floodplain permit or building permit, yes. We had to do that H&H study. That's been done. We have to modify it one more time, and once we get that modified, we'll resubmit to the city.
Okay, what about the walking track where the buildings were?
We have to perform another H&H study for that to be built in the floodplain, and, because they require that as well. The floodway line, if you probably know this, but the floodway line has been adjusted by the FEMA folks. So that floodway line got, whoever adjusts that, is that FEMA, is that?
Can you not use the H&H study that was done in 2017 right after?
No, they won't allow that. They said it has to show the walking trail itself, and it did not do that. So we have to modify the walking trail because the floodway now comes up halfway through that. So we have to cut that walking trail in half. So it's going to be a real small loop, and we'll adjust the amount of trees and all those things we have to put in there. But we have to do another H&H study just for that.
That's currently being used as a parking area for the football field, so there's not going to be any parking once that's done.
Right. Well, I guess you could park in the floodway, but it's going to be grass or something. You won't be able to pave it. You can't put anything in the floodway at all. You can't build.
Yeah, I know. When do you anticipate starting on this? What's the deadline? When's it done?
We have to submit to the School Building Authority for their approval with the budget, and we'll have to submit to you folks before we go to there with the budget. And we hope to do that, I would say pretty soon, because we want to get our all of our ducks in a row as far as permitting and with DEP and everything prior to going to bid. But we have to finish the drawings before we can do any permitting at all. So.
Duration, you're looking about 30 months of construction, give or take, because it's phased construction.
We can work with Skanska to come up with a final schedule, and then we'll submit a final schedule to the board, hopefully soon.
On the H&H study, you said you had to resubmit it, or?
We have to modify the H&H study for this site to where it has a 0 rise. And that has to be modified within the next couple of weeks. They're working on that modification to get that 0 rise on the parking lot.
Did it come in above what it was supposed to?
Came in 0.11 of a foot, 865 feet downstream. So we have to modify what we're doing to get that 0.
On the lower end toward the school, you can correct that there, can't you?
We can correct it in the parking lot. Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
We'll probably pull back that parking lot some. We're looking at options right now with a site engineer to come up with some options, but right now the easiest thing is to deal with, the fastest way to do it is to deal with the parking lot. We're looking at how much we have to take out or what we have to do for that. But that's, we have to modify that report and do all the grade work to make sure that that's a zero rise certification. That's what they require.
1.3 inches.
860 feet downstream.
Yes.
1 point some inches,
0.11 of a foot, whatever.
and we're gonna,
You have to do it.
Yeah.
It's required. I mean, FEMA requires it and so does the insurance.
The city requires it. That's in their certification. It's the city requirement. Which is fine. I mean, that's, if that's what they require and they want us to do that, that's fine. We'll comply with that.
You'll be able to do that without any problem, really, basically.
Well, it'll be some modifications probably to the parking lot. That's the easiest way to do it. So
Are you saying you're gonna have to tear out part of the parking lot?
we may have to, yeah, part of it, along the riverside,
Isn't that what
Just
the
in the
bulk of the
floodway.
parking is?
in the floodplain.
I mean,
In the full.
in the floodplain also? Okay.
Yeah, because that's where they
In the flood-
require, that's where they
Yeah,
require.
it's-
Doesn't have anything to do with the floodway. It's all about the floodplain. So they require that in the floodplain now.
Yeah, there's no development on this property that's in the floodway.
Right.
We do have a piece of the parking lot that's in the floodplain, and that's where they're concerned about the rise.
Yeah, we have to get zero in the floodplain.
could the city accept the fact that it's gonna be a 1 inch, 1/3 inch rise down the road and accept that as it is right now and go with it?
Sure.
So it's the city that's saying they don't accept.
Well, yeah, the city's saying their requirement is zero. And they have, to my knowledge, they have the ability to change that, but that's their requirement. And in order for us to do that, we knew when we did the H&H study, it was going to be small, very small. And then we said, well, we'll do it anyway just to see what it is, run the calculations. And once they ran the calculations, it was 0.11 of a foot, 800 and some feet downstream, which is pretty far downstream, but they want us to show zero rise. So we're going to have to we'll modify what we have to modify to make it work.
Now, that H&H study, I mean, the same thing's going on up on the walking trail as well?
We'll have to do an H&H study based on the new layout for the walking trail in the floodplain. Because we'll have to pull it back out of the floodway that was changed, and we'll have to make it on the floodplain. And it just pushes the schedule back, is what it does for that. We were wanting to get that constructed this spring, but we'll just have to wait till next fall.
That's up at the football side. The old-
That's across the, it's where the middle school sat.
Where the buildings were.
Yeah, it's where the building was, exactly.
Yeah, well, the city may decide they'd rather have that extra parking than to have it tore out just to get that inch drop,
It could, but that's,
But they required us to do the H&H study, so, why require the study and then not adhere to it?
yeah, the problem is now, once you do the study, you've got a report that says you've got a rise. So you wanna correct the rise.
So has the city responded to that report? So they're saying that,
He called, their engineer called and we talked and he said they're requiring the zero certification. So I took it back to our engineers and now we're looking at how we make that zero.
So whatever parking spaces that they lose will still meet within the recommendations of.
Yeah, we were over quite a few per 6,200 anyway, so we'll be fine.
so where the rise occurs, 850, 60 feet downstream is not our property.
No, we're not touching that.
So we can't deal with that. We gotta deal with our property.
We'd rather deal with our property.
Gotcha.
I noticed at the old junior high, middle school, and high school, the exterior walls were not near, the inside was not near as big as this is going to be.
No.
But those walls cracked like Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. You could literally see the outside from inside the school building. I caught a skipper one time
Were you there?
What are you going to do? The ground was not strong enough to support the school. I mean, I'm not
Which school are you talking about?
the junior high
Okay.
and high school, right there together, all, the band and the art. And even down in 1978 when they built the first part, and then later on they built the second part. What can you do to guarantee us that that won't happen again? And even in the summertime, when we would have a wet summer, there would be mildew come in on the inside of those walls and eventually turn what I thought was mold. I would get the county maintenance over there. I mean, it was black. And they'd said, no, we've done studies, it's not mold, but it was first cousin to mold. And they would paint it, and I said, when the kids come and the parents see this, something's gonna have to give, so they would work on that. But it was because the soil was not solid. My question is, what are you gonna do here to make sure that those exterior walls can handle the big spaces inside in both schools?
Yeah, there's two things going on, okay? First of all, this will be on deep foundations.
Be on what?
Deep foundations. We're going down, 60 feet?
About 45.
45 feet deep, so they'll be on deep foundations. So these caissons or whatever, driven piles, however we decide to do, go down, put them in the ground. There's grade beams that the school sets on. And what that means is you could take out all the dirt and the school's gonna sit there. Okay, it's gonna sit on this grid, these deep foundations. The other issue you brought up revolves probably around no insulation on that school, like the original high school, middle school. We ran into this when we did our report on those schools way back when, and then GSA actually came in and did a more detailed report than we did. Part of the problem on those schools, it was designed at a time that FEMA said we had to bring those schools up to code. What that meant was we had to go research the code when that school was built, and all the connections, the roof joist connections and everything, all those connections were built at a certain era. They do not meet code now. So if we had to bring that, say, for instance, the middle school, we had to bring it up to code right now, we'd have to take the roof off, all the joists off, redo all the connections, put the roof back on, put the joist back on. This school is built under this code, and we're revising the elementary school piece even to bring it up to code as well. So it's a whole different scenario when you talk about HVAC, ASHRAE codes, and air changes, and then the structure as well.
I think that the schools there, the old schools there at Richwood were built on mill pond.
Right. I knew Summersville, I think all of them were. Summersville was built on a log pond. That's why you could almost stick both your hands on through some of those cracks.
Yeah. And I don't know, were you there when we went in there and jacked that building up and put steel jacks under?
That didn't work.
So a couple, just real quick, couple things to add. We do have a geotechnical report that we're working with the geotechs that did core samples of the site, drilled all the way down to the hit rock. That's what's given us the picture of what's below there. There's a lot of debris that's been buried in there over the years. So what we're looking at is doing the deep foundation system so that it actually bears all the way down on bedrock. So that's why we're going 45 feet with it. Where the new addition abuts the existing building, we're putting brand new masonry bearing walls. So we're not bearing any weight on the existing building whatsoever. All the weight of the addition is on itself. So we're basically reaching out and touching the existing building, but we're not putting any weight bearing on that building. As far as the envelope goes, the existing roof is probably close to an R15 roof. The new roof that we're going to put on that existing building is going to be an R32. So we're probably more than doubling the R value of what's on that roof. The existing envelope doesn't have a lot of insulation in it either. So part of the whole reskinning it and, making the new blend with the existing, we are putting new insulation on the rigid insulation on the exterior, and we're actually recladding most of that exterior of the building and moving the dew point outside. So we don't get that condensation back on the inside of the building. So we are trying to fix part of those issues with the existing building with this renovation.
Do you have any idea how many classrooms there will be in elementary, middle, and high school individually? Can you give a number?
I can't tonight, but we can get that for you, because we have a plan, and it meets whatever, I can't even remember the numbers we have off the top of my head, what numbers we have for each grade level. But we've been through that with the staff several times to make sure we have enough classrooms. But yeah, we can get that for you.
Is it all flat roof?
No.
There are large sections of the building that are, but most of the entrances in the dining room are a gabled roof.
It's not, technically it's not flat, but it is tapered to drains, but it's not all extreme gable like that. Any more questions before we go on to the next one? Okay. This would be the Glade Creek site. That's the site plan, proposed site plan of where the fields would go. The red line indicates the 82 acres that we are allowed to build in. We cannot go outside the red line. It's 82 acres. And we're currently working on a mass grading package that should be done, this is mid-January, I'm going to say mid-February, hopefully.
Probably closer to the end of February.
And that's going to involve creating a building pad for the contractor to bid, a parking lot, gravel, and the rest of the grade work inside the red line for the next contractor to take on. And how many cubic yards are we talking about, Chris? I know
900,000 cubic yards of earth moved.
This has come about through several meetings I think we had in our office with staff and athletic folks here. But we hope to get the mass grading package out, completed, and to DEP so they can issue their permit. They're going to issue a permit for the whole project rather than waiting this process on and on and on. We'll have to wait a few months to get that permit, but it speeds it up down the road.
Who will issue the permit?
DEP. It's a large, it's 82 acres and it's a large disturbance. And that'll be a significant package to go out.
What is the green inside of the yellow? I can't see through here.
Those are just courtyards inside the building footprint. And that, it's not totally finished at this point, but that's the proposed. That's probably going to change a little bit here and there. We're still working on meeting with the staff on all the academies that go in the building and all the requirements for those academies and how that lays out. So it's constantly moving a little bit. We're pushing and shoving the building parts and pieces everywhere.
Do I count 7 ball fields? 1, 2, 3, 4.
You have a football field, soccer field, a baseball field, and then you have future locations for fields.
Is that included in your contract?
My contract?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're responsible for the whole site. We have to determine the site in order to determine where the building goes. This is, I'll let Chris take over here, but this is basically one snapshot of an outside of one of the academies on the building. There's several academies. lost my train of thought on how many I think there are on the high school side. But this is just a snippet or a snapshot of the building as it goes around the site.
You want to back up to the site slide for just 1 second?
Sure.
So just to kind of get a real quick orientation on the site here. County Route 41 here, you've got two main entrances coming in off of that, with parking located here and all the way around the side of the building and around the building here. That way we have parking near some of the play fields. Two main entrances that are identified. This is middle school entrance and the middle school academies here. You've got the high school entrance with the high school academies here. You got a lot of the main sports and some of the fine arts areas located in the middle, and then more of the career and technical education on the, basically the north end of the site that kind of ties these together. What we're going to show you is kind of a couple concepts that we're looking at for these. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Facing this way. For the academies here, what you're going to see is kind of a couple of views of the academy here, and all you're really going to see is these little bump outs here, are these stair towers. So we'll go to, it'll help put it in perspective. So this is the stair tower, the little bump outs that I was pointing to, these white elements here. So along that academy wing is 2-story. So we do have a 2-floor academy with the academy, and we'll get to the interior of it here in just a second. So you do have a concourse that kind of runs down this kind of main spine going around the building. We do have our exiting for fire exits to get out of the building from both floors. And then what we have here is basically some curtain wall areas and some metal areas that look into the corridor portion of that building. This just shows we've got, I mean, this is still very conceptual. We're just suggesting some different ideas of materials. You know, we're looking at some metal panel here, some brick, some other masonry products, looking at some curtain walls, some large sections of glass, and the stair towers. Just to kind of give you a gauge of perspective, this is a stair tower, 16-foot floor to floor. Stair tower is a mechanical room on the back end of this. We've oriented all these stair towers to face north, so we're not getting really any harsh light into those, and we've actually shielded them some so that these areas you don't get baked in the late beginning of school, and we'll say in the springtime when the sun starts beating down on those spaces. This will be some high performance glass that looks into these spaces here. And then we've got areas here that you can kind of see the lighting on the concourse behind us, but we got some lockers and a few areas located in the academies.
2-story?
2-story. This section is 2-story.
What, do you have an elevator or handicap access?
Oh, yeah.
There'll be
Have to.
multiple elevators throughout
Where are
the
your
building.
fire exits? Where are your fire exits?
We're going to use some of these as exiting out of here, where this gentleman's standing here in the rendering. There's a door actually.
Each one of those is a stair tower to exit outside. Around the building, there's several of those. They have to be like every 200 feet. You have to have so many exits and so many feet, and there's exits at the end of the hallway.
And because of security reasons, we don't want to start penetrating and putting a lot of other additional entrances and exits on here, because it becomes, the more entrances you have, the more difficulty it is to keep the building secure. Just a couple other images what we're showing. So this is the interior of the academy space. So those large expanses of glass that you saw are right here. There's a couple areas that we showed some brick material that's kind of located here. Where we've done is looked at this, and what we're going to show is some images of an academy here. There's actually basically an entrance to this academy here, and it goes into kind of a shared space. And this is duplicated as you go down the concourse. Where this little bridge comes across here, that's one of the stair towers. So that'll give you that. There's a door there and a door there. That gives you the idea how you could exit through there, go out of that stair tower and get to the outside.
The second floor hallway is this.
Yeah. So the second floor hallway is only set back on this portion here, and then you have this kind of 2-story hall space here. The way this works and the way this is laid out, and you'll see it, we have these large expanses of glass here. We've got glass on this floor and the floor above it. And then on the back side, as you continue straight through this into the academy, we'll show you there, we actually have duplicated kind of this window approach looking out to the courtyard. So we have this kind of ability to get daylight all the way through this building into all the academic spaces.
Where's your electrical wiring at?
Above ceiling. Not planning on doing exposed wiring or anything like that. Maybe potentially in some of the academies as we continue to develop the design, but we're right now showing more of a finished space.
Now, didn't we look at schools and they had it in the floor? And they said that, good.
No, yeah, I'd rather not put it in the floor unless we have to. It's just too much of a maintenance issue.
So this is actually standing, I'm at one of the stair towers here. You can see the second stair tower located where this little bridge comes across. So I'm kind of on this little bridgeway located here. This is the second floor. So the entrance to the academy that I showed you is actually right here below us. These are the locker banks located here. This part of the corridor is open to the academy. We're showing this kind of central area of the academy, and these hallways go back. The actually classrooms in the academy are actually stacked 2-story along here, and then you can see where the people are located here. These glass entrances here gets us into the bank of other 8 classrooms on the other side. So this is one of the typical academies. So to kind of show you what we're looking at here, so we got a large media wall and kind of dividing wall located here. This one's just happened to show, like, this is a nursing station. There's a couple hospital beds here. We've got some individual toilets located here behind this screen. This is the glass that I talked about so we entered in from those doors from the corridor here. This glass located here is what looks out into the courtyard. So we kind of have this glass that goes through the building. Got a communicating stair to get us from this floor up to the second floor without leaving the academy. You see that we got classrooms around the perimeter on both floors that open directly into the individual academies.
We actually have a teacher planning space on the lower level here, here behind the toilets, there's a teacher planning space, and stacked above that is the science lab on the second floor.
So this one,
What are you calling an academy? What do you mean by academy?
Would you like to explain the academies?
Yes, we'll have each academy, the concept is built around career technical education and your core academic classes wrapping around the area of student interest. So if you have a student who's interested in becoming a nurse and they get into Health Occupations Academy, the English, the math, the social studies, those core academic classes will be located within each academy. The state content standards and objectives will be carried out for the core academic classes, and project-based learning, examples in each of those core academic areas will relate to giving examples of the particular academy. So students who exit high school will not just exit with just a high school diploma, they will be exiting with certifications that make them employable, and those who choose to also will have associate's degrees. And it brings relevance to student education, and that's something that I think that we've been missing in our educational system for years.
Well, it's not departmentalized, then you'll have repetition in each section, in each academy.
Those academies, classes will share, those classrooms will share. Half of it in the AM, the math classroom will maybe with health occupations program. The PM, the math will be with social services, whatever that academy is on the other side. So it's all been worked out in the schedule.
yeah, and the way some of these classrooms actually work, these classrooms are actually double-sided. So the way that these are approachable, that we can actually have the flexibility to have that classroom available to this academy here or that academy on either side. So what it'll allow is for the maximum use of the schedule.
Is that why this is called a comprehensive high school?
Yes, it is.
Do you have a inside of a classroom?
Not yet.
Not yet. Basically, I would say every classroom will look almost exactly the same. They're going to be very flexible. They're going to be very universal to where you could teach, except for specialized like art, music, science. Those will be specialized rooms. But English, math, social studies, those classrooms will all be the same. Teachers can float, and you can teach one versus the other.
Of course, I'm not an architect, but all that space, all I see is space. What,
We don't have every,
no space, what are you gonna do? Where's the classrooms,
So this is still a little conceptual. We don't have all of the parts and pieces in the program completely developed yet, but this is as we're starting to develop this is kind of starting to show us what we have for space and where we have to start tightening the space up. But we also don't have every single thing that was required to be in this space actually shown in the rendering either at this point in time.
And since it's being built around career technical education programs, the space is recommended between 3,500 and 4,500 square foot per programmatic area. And so there will be the different programs in this facility with that square footage in mind. So when you're actually building and wrapping around career technical education, it requires a little different design. That's why this school is designed differently.
Are there enough classrooms in this facility to meet the academic needs of the students?
yes,
Okay, and that's both on the high school and the middle school level,
that's correct.
and they all meet the qualifications of policy 6200?
Yes,
So those are in the facility. And I know when we were, a couple of years ago, we went and visited several schools. There are new approaches to the way we do instruction with children in schools. And one is the open concept. We caught that in about every school we went to during that time, as you recall. So this is a different approach, and it's not a departmentalized, all your science teachers are over here and all your math teachers are over there. It's a different concept, isn't it?
It is, and this does replicate many of those schools that we saw. It's the same type of concept and design. It's a new way of structuring and teaching.
And it is a combination because not everything is completely open. So you do have some, like we showed these classrooms off to the side, we do have some enclosed separate classroom areas for separate individual focused requirements. But then we also have the ability, the flexibility of these academies to have it open and be able to feed one from the other. And actually the academies will do some shared work from one to the other where it's not just isolated just in one side.
So for example, we'll have a cosmetology academy, is one of the academies I'm proposing. So in this area, you would have cosmetology stations set up. And students would actually be doing all of their hands-on experience in that lab space area. And the students in their core academic classes would have relevance to the academy that they're in through their core academic, and they'll actually be able to see and engage but that's how those academies are, should be laid out.
And it's designed so that students will not have to run all over the building.
Correct.
They stick in that, for their high school career, they'll stick in that one academy or they choose, I guess.
They
It's a
could.
mini school. It's a mini school.
Yeah.
Dave, that person going up the steps, I think they're going to the second story.
correct.
Now, up there, I saw on another picture, somebody walking. How big is that walking area?
Oh, on the other side here,
How wide or how long?
How long?
it's the whole spine on that site plan. It runs pretty much the whole spine that you saw from the front to the back. So it runs from close to that where the high school entrance and the middle school entrance were located. That spine runs all the way back to where it met toward the Career and Vocational Center on the north side of the building. So it runs those full little curved legs on either side, full length.
So, half a mile, quarter of a mile?
think what we determined is that it's
It
close
basically
to,
runs from here all the way down to here.
yeah, so you have that space here, and that space on this side.
And students can make it to the cafeteria within 3 minutes, 5 minutes max, no matter where they are in the school.
The cafeteria on the first floor or the second floor in this?
Second.
Second floor.
Now, will these academies include, college prep, AP, labs, chemistry, physics, biology, anatomy?
Oh, that's planned out, yes.
Where is that?
That science room is a lab. All those labs will be equipped for all those things. Science, chemistry, physics, whatever it'll be, it's equipped in that one lab. So it'll be whoever teaches,
There.
whoever's responsible for that academy will go, they can go there, or they can go to the next academy if they need to go get that.
It looks like to me, I mean, that's obviously the nursing academy.
Yes.
Correct.
I mean, it looks like, okay, there's your nurse's station. Over here would be like the rooms where the beds were. It's like they're actually going to simulate working in a
It will
hospital.
look like a hospital.
And then over on the other side where you showed would be more or less where the instruction takes place.
You could have group instruction
Like,
needed to around those TV, the media portion.
yeah, like the other one. Can you show me it? There was one more.
So that would be a separate academy. For example, one of the things, and Tom Bayless, of course, is in here, and he's been very.
Yeah, that
involved.
one. That's like the instructional part right there of
Yeah,
that
you can have
academy.
instructional part.
But like the nurse's station is like right here, so you can do some instruction here, you can do some practical hands-on right here where you're all in the same kind of space.
And one of them may be set up like a TV station, broadcasting. Mr. Bayless has got some pretty good ideas. So the whole thing is simulated workplace, but with this facility, it actually is going to really help to do that simulated workplace that the state is really engaged in.
So, you have worked with, Mr. Bayless and your staff members, is that correct, Mr. Bayless? And principals at the high schools and
Yes.
developing this concept. And the goal is to have our children, when they leave here, certified, ready to do things post-high school and or ready to go to college.
As it is at this right now across our state, across our nation, you have students who can graduate high school without any skill sets or certifications for employment. With this concept, every single student will be able to walk out with a certification or multiple certifications and or associate's degrees. And in hopes of maybe even having a 2+2 and trying to have some 4-year degree evening classes here for students. There's a lot of potential.
So this is really a new approach to doing things.
It
And,
is. And we talked with Mr. Bayless, was that Massachusetts that we talked with? Yeah, so we talked with the school that their superintendent is actually trying to carry out something very similar. But it seems like we're ahead of them in our planning. So they're following us. So this is something that's pretty new, pretty innovative, and really replicates what they tried to do at Fisher Middle School that we visited. And unfortunately, the person that had the design idea passed away, and the school was not confident in how to carry out the curriculum in those spaces that they were designed for, which is very unfortunate. So once we looked at Fisher Middle School, it really gave me the idea of the person who designed that really was on the right track, and we're really kind of just modeling what they're doing, but more of with a high school twist. And I'll have to say, I have to give Tom Bayless and his crew a lot of credit, because I had ideas and he's kind of put it in play, and he's done a lot with it.
Can they complete 2 academies in 4 years? or
They
is-
can complete 2 academies in 4 years, yes, they can. So the idea is, I think that students should have the opportunity that if they have an interest in, let's just say, an interest in being a hairstylist, Okay, they don't have to finish the full cosmetology program, but they can actually become licensed as a hairstylist. And then that same person may want to also be interested in ProStart. They could actually complete a ProStart program academy and a hairstylist academy and walk out with a license in hairstyling and walk out with a restaurant management certification from ProStart. So they actually can walk out with two very broad areas to make them employable. Because, you know, a lot of our students exit high school and they're really not sure where their strengths are, and then they explore. Or if you have a student, let's say, they know 100% they love electrical, they can get in. We now have the electrical program in this county, which in my opinion is one of the best programs you can have in the state, because our kids can come out as journeyman electricians. So you can have a student go into a journeyman to electrical program, and we can graduate our kids as journeyman electricians. They have experiences, and not only that, but working with the carpentry program and HVAC. I mean, they can come out as very well-rounded individuals and be employable. So we're building confidence. We're all getting away from that old thing. I mean, so the teachers in here, how many times in your lives have you heard people say, or kids say, well, what's this? How's this going to help me after high school? Well, this academy takes away that question. It helps them to see relevance in what they're doing in their core academic areas. So when you have a student who graduates from high school and they're certain they have certificates, they're always going to be employable, always. That student may decide to go into college, which would be wonderful, or may go into the world of work. But we're no longer going to be putting kids out on the street without employability skills or skills to go to college.
So they can technically do 2 years in law enforcement and then go over 2 years in pre-med.
They could.
Close.
And it doesn't require a state waiver because we will be following the content standards and objectives. I've talked with SREB, their liaisons on board, and excited. It's going to take, a lot of work across the state, a lot of work with our teachers. But I feel confident. I think it's exciting. It's a lot of hard work, but it's something that I think will revolutionize education as we see it.
The SREB is the Southern Regional Educational Board, which encompasses what, 20 or 15 or 20 states in the South? Something to that effect? So you've been working with them?
They're pretty excited about it, yes.
Okay.
How many academies? How many academies?
In this program,
Yeah,
16, that's based on the national model.
16, how many teachers in each one?
Well, I can't give you quote, I have all that laid out. I have the number of teachers, we have that laid out for each of the academies. What we may do, 16 is the national model. The goal is, and it may be something that we compare some of those back, maybe. What we don't want to do is expect to offer a handful of academies and expect every single child to find an interest in that academy. So for example, right now in this county, we have so many kids who are missing out on the opportunities of programming, of computer repair, of all of that technology stuff. And we've tried to hire a teacher and we could not find anyone. So for the kids who are inclined to have that type of interest, we really don't have anything for them. Whereas on the other hand, we have opportunities for, and I know that you've heard me talk about it before, but tourism. I mean, what is West Virginia? We've tried to reinvent ourselves as a tourist state. So tourism activities, teaching our kids how to be entrepreneurs and how to build mountain bike tracks and work on mountain bikes and be creative and paddleboarding. I mean, there's just so many different things. So we have to have a variety so that our kids will be interested. If you put a kid into a programmatic area that they're not interested in, they're not going to excel. So we have to be careful, we have to be thoughtful of it. But of the plan that we've had, this has not been in isolation. This has been working with teachers, Mr. Bayless, our CTE director, and with others. And, I will not be presenting this board with something we can't support. And definitely, I've already looked at the teacher populations, what we're going to need, how all that works, and so.
One other thing that I want to go back to a point that Mrs. Kaufman made a minute ago about, this is a comprehensive high school, and so all of our secondary students, Richwood High School, they'll be Richwood High School students, but they can take part in these programs here as well.
Absolutely.
So they might be here a half a day and at their school half a day in order to get those same opportunities. And so it's for all of our secondary level students for them to have that opportunity to get that type of education.
Well, I think another thing that's important to point out too is these academies are going to be relevant to the job market in our area. Like they're going to be learning what jobs that are they can be able to get out and get employed, and if they want to stay here in this area, they will be able to take those classes and get those certificates, and they'll be able to get a job here.
You're absolutely right.
I know tourism, is that academy in itself tourism?
Yes,
We
that's,
talked about some aspects of that.
yes. Yes, so the Tourism Academy, we have it all, and I don't have it all in front of me to be able to really talk to you about it. But the Tourism Academy, I think, I've seen it operate in other counties, and it's pretty exciting. And again, you have to find something in you that gets excited. If a student is not excited with about what they're learning, it's hard to keep them engaged. And I would think it would be sad to go through life working in a job that you're not excited to go to every day. All jobs are difficult and have difficulties. But yes, the tourism.
Well, yeah, I know people say, well, you can't make a living at it, but I think it will grow. It has been growing. If we're not able to mine coal or things that we have done in the past, we'll have to shift to that, and there's more people finding West Virginia now.
Well, I have to give you an example, Mr. Berry. You're exactly right. If you look at the Golly Fest, you look at activities that we have in this community that draws people from all over the United States that come here to participate in those types of activities. So if you have our kids, because entrepreneurship also needs to be a very strong component in this facility, because some of those students who want to go out and be entrepreneurs, this will be a great opportunity for them.
Will forestry be included in tourism? Training?
Yeah, that would be in the agriculture program, and that's something that we're looking at now to determine plant systems and what we'll be doing with plant systems. I know that Mr. Bayless does a lot with the, the horticulture?
Yeah. We're also looking at like natural resources management and working with Glenville and doing some 2+2 programs with them. So.
Yeah, because we do have national forest,
Right.
Could be a big part of it.
Now, you're able to use uncertified teachers, aren't you?
They're not uncertified teachers, they're just an alternate teaching. They require their certification for an alternate means. So they use experience to get their teaching certificate.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about, because we've got, 17, 20 vacancies right now that we can't fill? And then how many teachers is it gonna take to do all this? Oh, you guys are, want to go, so.
You're fine.
You're fine.
Basically, that ends our, so we can answer any other questions you may have, or we can come back anytime soon, or.
But the fine arts, are they an academy or are they just
An academy, yes.
okay?
It's laid out in the center of the facility. It's actually a pretty neat design. And the arts, I don't know that they have any way to show that.
We don't have that.
But it's actually in the center, and so you have your your choir, you have your band, you have your fine arts, all of that, and it's centered around the academy that's in behind the gymnasiums in the
Theater.
middle of the facility.
You have the theater and all that there together.
Oh, and it behind the in the main center.
And keep in mind, what's that?
I don't want to growl too much, but
That's fine.
to attract a business, you need nice schools. Maybe a business hasn't even been invented yet. Maybe look at Nicholas County, want to come here, and we want to have good schools. And it looks like everything, is coming along. But goodness gracious, that car that you showed a picture of with the design, it'll be an antique. We don't get to start putting some blocks up and stuff.
Well, we hope to go out to bid as soon as we get approval from the SBA when we submit, once we get the budgets done. I want to say late spring maybe, on the one school, once we get a bid schedule submitted to you all for approval.
Can I write that down?
You can write it down, but you still have to approve it.
What's your projected
He's
date
getting
on
ready for you
completion
all
of
to
this one?
approve.
What's that?
What's your projected date on completion of this one?
The Glade Creek?
Yes, sir.
We want, since we have, the DEP permit, if we get and it's all relates to the mass grading package. Mass grading package, DEP permit, if we can submit that in March,
1st of March.
1st of March, it takes 4 to 5 months to get that permit. So we can't start that construction or bid that for 4 or 5 months. Is that correct?
It's a little long. At the very.
Oh, we can bid it, but we can't start.
Right, so the DEP permit so we'll talk the Glade Creek site. DEP permit, is gonna take, a minimum of 12 weeks for their initial review. And then they come back with comments, and then there is a period that takes anywhere from 30 to 45 days of back and forth with review comments from DEP to us and back. Then once they get a plan that DEP will approve, they'll do a 30-day advertisement for the site. At that point, they get all their comments back, and then they take it another 15 more days typically before you could get a permit in hand. So we're probably at the earliest on the schedule with what we're trying to target. You're looking at probably a midsummer start of construction on the mass grading.
Now, the grading, you said was gonna come in earlier, of course, than that, right?
We thought it was till we got talked to the DEP, how long it takes to get the DEP permit. We're gonna get the drawings done, but we have to submit the drawings to get the permit.
Yeah.
So we have to
Yeah.
finalize.
So the date you're giving right now is when you start the grading, not when you start laying footers and stuff,
No.
Correct. We have to do the mass grading package first.
which is 4 or 5 months.
So you're talking about a building pad being prepped and ready. This is optimum conditions at this point. You're looking at a building pad being prepped and ready in fall of this year to be able to start your foundation work in the fall.
And what's the projected completion date?
Without looking at the schedule, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I'd have to, with this,
We'll look at that.
information from the DEP.
We can
I'd
get
have to
that for you.
advise
We
the
have a schedule.
milestone schedule.
We can look at the overall schedule. They're close.
DEP permitting is with the delay of where that is right now and how long it's taking them on permitting. We gotta look at that schedule, but we can come back to you with that.
Yeah, the other thing to add to that, Chris, too, is once they get the building pad done, there is a settlement period that you'll want, it's typically like 45 to 60 days that you let the pad settle to make sure that there's no disturbance, any seismic.
Okay, once all that's done, how long is it gonna take to complete the building?
To complete the building, I thought you wanted a date. To complete the building, it's probably gonna take 2.5 years.
Okay.
So you're
So-
saying the current sophomores will be able to graduate, or will it go down to freshmen or eighth graders? From the new school.
Freshman.
I'd have to look at a school calendar to tell you that.
It'll be 3 to 3.5 years by the time you get your permits and all that stuff and then get started.
You will pack this.
No, we're not gonna have to deal with city permits at Glade Creek, are
That's
we?
what I'm getting at.
So you're looking more like a class of, the school year 24-25 when you get this building up.
Far out? I didn't think it was that far out.
Will work without having to pull in other.
Which is 21 right now.
You start your.
Yeah.
I don't know.
3 years and a half is going to put you to 20.
I don't think it's, I think we figured that at 2.5.
Yeah,
Back in,
yeah, we'll confirm that on the schedule.
all right.
We
Is
get,
there any way to
You
put
say you'll be able to tell us closer.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, As we're making progress and we continue to refine the building, the site's is refined very well. And the site to the point is moving forward with the grading package as we speak. The issue is we have to get that done and then it sits in review. Now we can go out to bid and we can look at those bid schedules, but we can go out to bid with that while it's in the final commentary period. What we want is to be able to have it out for bid, but still be able to issue any addenda if there's any documents or changes from DEP. But that way we can bid it as fast as we can bid it and get the earthwork started.
What's the DEP's timeframe?
DEP for initial reviews running around 12 weeks plus.
Dave, is there any way, since we're in the planning stages, when you get these contractors, can you put it in black and white? If you run into a snag at one school, you can move the crew over to the other?
No, it's going to have different contractors. The Cherry River School will be bid as one package. One contractor will be responsible. The other school will probably be multiple primes. We could bid it both ways to see how the prices come in, probably will. There's some guys out there that could bid that job as one job. So we want to investigate that too. I think that Jason and I've talked about that.
Yeah, I think, either way, you're gonna have the mass grading package, so that'll be one package anyway.
Yep.
It may be possible to have a separate building package, but if not, you'll probably have at least one package.
Yeah.
Based on the initial projections, you're gonna, realistically, we'll come to you with approvals to bid Cherry River pretty soon, very, very soon. And we'll have the documentation ready to go for bidding the mass grading at the Glade Creek site pretty much right in after that. The building of the Great Glade Creek building is a little bit further out. We're talking closer to end of summer, early part of fall. Mm-hmm. Because the building pad won't be prepped and ready for that contractor to go on it. What we would like for it to happen is to be able to bid it during the period of where we're doing the settlement on the site. We can get bids, receive bids at that point in time. We can get a contract started with the selected contractor or contractors. And at that point, they can start submittals. And then by the time submittals come through for rebar and foundations and they get approvals and they get moving forward, we're at the end of that settlement period and the contractor can get on the pad and start working so that there's not a lag in time.
It won't be the entire 82 acres though. It'll just be the site of the school, is that correct?
The building
The
pad,
mass grading package is going to develop all 82 acres inside of that red line.
we have to balance the site to create the building pad. So there's a lot of cut fill that has to happen on that site to be able to create that building pad. Now, the mass grading contractor may we'll ask him to develop the building pad first and let that settle. So we can go ahead and bid the building, get that started. He could be working on the rest of the site while the building contractor is working.
Right.
But there'll be different levels on that site.
Yes,
Yeah, and the school will probably be on the upper level for the most part.
more than likely, yeah. But there's some large retaining walls because we've had to stay within that yellow or red line I showed you.
Right.
So there's a lot of cut and fill that has to happen to make that work.
What's your bid on this whole project?
The mass grading package is probably, the site engineer is guesstimated that around about 12 million. We don't know for sure until we get the final drawings. We have to look at that and give that to Skanska to review. And that's all the thing we've got right now because all that's in Skanska's hands as far as like they're responsible for all the budgets and estimating. And as soon as we give them drawings, they estimate.
So we don't know if we've got enough money yet.
Oh, our charge is to put it in budget. I mean, we've got X amount of dollars to spend and we're going to spend them.
Take a check.
I mean, we learned, what was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now? That's, we talked to FEMA and all those folks. I mean, that's the dollar amount's the dollar amount. That's what we have.
And that's what we're going to work to.
Yeah, we have to design to that.
Are there any further questions for the architect or the building, the construction manager? This time?
Better roll.
Well, thank you guys for being with us this evening. We expect you back in about 2 weeks, I guess.
Okay.
We'll talk about it further at that time.
Hopefully we'll have more information.
Okay, and Madam Superintendent, I do want to congratulate you and your staff. I think you're really trying to think about how we can best prepare our kids for the life that they're going to be living after they leave high school. Thank you and Mr. Bayless and the other people that are working with you diligently to prepare programs and schedules for these students. So, thank you. Item number 5 on this evening's agenda is discussion items and presentation. We have nothing there. Item 6, action items. This is with Mr. Roberts. Approval of the gas line easement at Cherry River Elementary. You received that electronically, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, did you get copies of this as well electronically?
We did not get.
You did not get that? This is to show you.
Oh, you don't.
That's okay. Good luck. Just moving around over there. Here we go. Okay, as we continue to move forward with the Cherry River campus, we do have a gas line that needs to be moved, and as soon as the board approves this easement, then they can make the move. It's you can see the blue line and how it runs, and then the little pink line shows how it needs to be adjusted over. And it's just and you can see it has the descriptors of ventures, incubators, which of course the board owns that now, along with Board of Ed, and the Cherry River. So it will be just this board signing to the easement. It's just simply just in a section of the gas
Why
line.
do we need to move that? Does the parking lot extend over into that area or something?
Oh, well, Mr. Roberts is actually on the Teams meeting. I don't know if he can provide more information on that. I just know that it's needed to be moved. I'm not really sure why, but they said that it needed to be moved.
It's not necessarily the one that supplies the school, although I'm sure it feeds off of it.
It's in the way of the culvert that they're installing.
The culvert. So we had to do extensive work on taking care of the water that comes off of, what is that, Bridge Street? Comes down, runs beside Allegiance Street, and there's culverts put in there. There's been a retention system, water retention system placed underneath the parking lot, so that when we have water runoff, it collects in the retention system, and it slows down the amount of water that feeds into the Cherry River. And so there's been a lot of different work, and you know, as Chris said, he is about him being back there, but because of the culvert, because of that type of work, I guess that's the reason it needs to be moved.
And there's storage area, what we had to renovate the parking lot.
There's the water retention area, yeah.
Yeah, all that, it's in the way of those two things.
This isn't gonna interfere with anything, is it, with the construction, and it'll be done now, but at the same time?
Yes, it's done right now at the same time.
Okay.
And they're actually ready to do it. They're just waiting on the signature, for a signature.
Motion? I'll make a motion, we approve.
Hang on a second, I'll call for just a second, but I'll let you make the motion. Any other questions for the superintendent in regard to the approval of the gas line easement at Cherry River? Any other questions for her? Hearing none, Mr. Moose has already made the motion to approve action item A. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Berry seconds. Any further discussion in regard to the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Madam Secretary, wherever you are, the motion is approved. So, item 7, consent items, finance. Mr. Hess. Mr. Hess, my first question is, did we pay the heating bill for this building?
We gotta cut back.
All the construction,
That's right,
saving money.
saving money.
Chris, could you check the temperature?
Probably about 50 in here.
I think they're just trying to rush you, Dr. Penny.
Okay, first item on finance agenda is payment of current invoices. If you have any questions, I'd handed out 2 or 3 pages of some bills we paid today that needed to be paid before our next board meeting. You'll also note that I have, Sherry had emailed you probably a couple times regarding some payment of some invoices that we had to go ahead and pay some utilities in order to avoid some late fees. So that'll happen from time to time, and we'll email that out asking you if you have any issues with that, and if so, to let us know, and then we'll, if not, we mail those out. And of course, you see those here as part of the approval process. We don't have to take any action, and if we don't take any action, that means we are okay. Yeah. If you don't call me, I'm assuming that everything's okay. We have a couple transfers and supplements. First one is the Nicholas County Community Foundation funds. We received $5,000 grant from them for the Alternative Center, a $6,099 grant for, that was Summersville Elementary, and a $1,000 grant for Glade Creek. So a total of $12,099 was received from Nicholas County Community Foundation. There was a $98 adjustment to the Faculty Senate at the Careers, or at the Alternative Center, and a $15,000 grant for virtual schools improvement sessions, and that's at the Career Center. And then finally, a $30,720 adjustment we had to do to our PEIA budget. The state evaluates the employees that we have based upon the certified list, and then they increase or decrease our PEIA allocation for the year, and unfortunately, they decreased our allocation. So we'll have that decrease in May and June. The last item on the financial agenda is a payment of contracts, and this is, you'll remember at our last meeting, I brought a change order to you regarding Modular Genius, which is the school, the Summersville Middle School, and there was one pending item that we still had to get clarified. And because they were not, had some exclusions about restoring the site back to its actual locations. There's buried utilities in there. There's some foundation, some concrete foundations. And then we just wanted to make sure that they was going to bring it back to its original condition. We researched that with the engineer and the contractor, and they had, in the original documents, removed from the original contract through that change order to not pull out those foundations. And so we want those concrete foundations out of the ground.
because we don't know what we're going to use that for. It's paid by FEMA, and so we said, no, we want those foundations out. So this change order is what we're asking the board to approve, with the removal of those foundations, the restoration of the property back to its original condition. And so what I ask you to is to void the change order that we had approved at the last meeting and simply replace it with this. And this is the same change order number. It's exactly the same, but I wanted to clarify the dollar number is different. This one's $2,695,551.86. And this, if you'll remember, the main purpose of that was to extend the lease, which is expired in December. It will extend that lease for 42 months. So at June of 2024, we'll have to reevaluate, are we done with those modules at that time, or are we going to need them for additional? And so there may be a change order for additional time if we're not ready.
Kevin, does that extension cost come out of our construction fund?
It does not. This is, as long as we're making forward progress on the construction, I've talked to FEMA about it. They will change our PW, our project worksheet, to include this additional rent.
Also, does that go for the that concrete and stuff? Or is that going to come out of the construction fund?
No, nothing related to these modulars will come out of the construction of the new schools. It's a completely separate.
I think that's a wise thing to do, because probably that area will be a playground for the grade school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most likely.
And there, I mean, there's a ton of concrete footings in there. So, I mean, it's,
I'll watch them put them in.
yeah, there's a bunch. It's just not like a one slab down one side. It's,
More than one load.
yes. So we don't want them in the ground. We want them out of the ground.
So you're asking us to approve this change?
Yes, I'm asking you to approve this change order as presented for the new amount.
We don't have,
Oh, you don't, I'm sorry. I forgot to hand that out.
That's why you were asking us to do
Maybe it's too cold.
I'm sorry, that's probably, my brain's not working. I'm sorry. Yes, this is the change order as amended.
And this is just for Somerville Middle?
This is just Summersville Middle. I'll be bringing you change orders for the other two locations. They are a little bit behind this one as far as the date. I think I have till May to get that completed. And so soon I'll be bringing that to you.
That's $9.5 million worth, is that right? The total package?
Total package for that school is $9.5 million. Yeah.
But originally was 6 million, something there, some change.
Right, the original, the $6.8 million was the original contract, and so we're adding $2,695,551.86 to the original contract.
Okay, and again, just to clarify, this is money that comes, the FEMA pays for, but it's not a part of the allotment for our construction of new schools.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And so, like I say, that if you will approve this amended change order, it'll essentially make the one you approved last meeting null and void, and this will replace it with our contractor.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Hess in regard to the finance items as presented here? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent item A, finance, which is payment of current invoices, supplements and transfers, and the contract, the revised contract with Modular Genius, the change order for that contract? Mr. Amick moves. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Mr. Kaufman seconds. Any further discussion regarding consent items? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. Item number 8, personnel. Madam Superintendent or Mrs. Atkins, is she here electronically?
She is.
Mrs. Atkins? Hold for just 1 second. Hold for just 1 second, please. Is there a need for an executive session? Okay, thank you. Go ahead. Any questions for Mrs. Atkins in regard to the personnel agenda presented this evening? Has the media been given a copy?
Weldon Prime, what's cool?
Thank you.
Ma'am, please.
Is that Chip? Okay. Okay. Gotcha. I thought that might be.
Weldon,
Uh-huh.
I was trying to find his phone number, and I couldn't find it. Must be under Weldon.
Any questions for the personnel director? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the personnel agenda as presented this evening?
Make it motion.
Mr. Berry moves. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Mr. Moose seconds. Any further discussion relative to personnel matters? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Madam Secretary, the motion passes unanimously. Superintendent's information, I think you've given us.
Unless you have any other questions, that's pretty much what I have.
Just kind of a brief question here about other matters, not construction, but we are now back in school this week because our color turned to orange on Saturday, correct?
Correct.
So all of our schools are back in on what let's call an A-B type schedule.
It's Plan B.
Plan B, okay. And again, I just,
Would you like for me to briefly go over?
that would be good. I think it would be good.
Okay, so if our map on Saturday is green, yellow, or gold, our elementary students will go 4 days a week, and our middle school students will continue on the 2-day-a-week schedule, AB schedule. If we are at orange on Saturday, all students in the county will be at 50% capacity on that AB schedule. And at any time we turn red, or the high school goes out the following day for the remainder of the week. And so on Saturday, we watch the map. Of course, daily, I watch the map. If it turns red, the following day, we will go out on the high school. But continuous evaluation of this per board's approval for the 2-day-a-week implementation until teachers get their shots. We do have, not just teachers, but all staff, we do have a list again of additional staff members who will get their shots. We had about 200 staff members who received their first vaccine. We have 180 who are still waiting for their first vaccine. And of course, last week, we didn't have any that was given to our county for our staff. So.
Is that all full-time? Is that all full-time staff?
No, full-time and part-time.
Some counties, it's full-time and part-time.
Yeah, substitutes. Now, the original, we got over 50, so we have 180. We have approximately 500 if you count substitutes and part-time and things like that. We have about 500 employees, so about 100 of them have chosen not to get the shot, but we have about 400 who want it.
Really?
Yeah,
So we'll have them all.
I don't think it's gonna take too long as we can get the shots. People have been very, receptive to them and, to getting them. So about half who wanted them has them, and, we have more coming out. I'm not sure how many's on the list this
I
time,
think
but.
West Virginia's number one, and I know it seems like if you haven't had the shot, you want it. Still waiting, but I think West Virginia's number one as far as getting those out. And the state went to a regional vaccine. We had to go out of county and get the shot.
Uh-huh.
But this week I was told that they're going to bring it back in the county. And I don't know what they're going to do regional.
Well, with the school system, we're not regional, it's actually with the county school system, so,
So
Martha
it
Roop.
never changed.
No, Martha Roop is the one coordinating for our school system, she's done a really good job with that. Sends emails out, contacts everyone, lets them know what time to come, so we don't have everybody in the same place at the same time, so.
What, that part-time includes substitutes?
It does.
Okay.
They just weren't on the first round, that's why the first round had to be prioritized with 50 and over. Then the second round of shots, it was full-time employees, and then collecting the information for substitutes, contracted services, Save the Children, those folks who work with us, we were able to also include them on the final round. So we want to capture those people who are working with our kids, whether they're our employees or not, if they're working with them. So, so that's what we've got so far with our numbers.
One other thing I'd like for you to qualify on, the state plan in regard to high school students, if the color is red on Saturday morning at 10 a.m., the DHHR, I think it is, map is red for our county on that, does that mean that the high school kids are out for the whole next week?
The high schools are out,
For
yes,
the whole next week?
yes.
Okay. Or if we turn red, say we would turn red tomorrow, then they would be off from the next day to the rest of the year. I mean, the rest of the week.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And one other thing I do want to assure our people that is the goal of this board is to get our kids back to regular school as soon as possible. And we are assessing this plan bi-weekly with that in mind, to get our kids back in school as we were before on the 4th of the week, as soon as we can.
We have some schools that are smaller, and we have maybe only a couple of students per classroom. So each individual school, if they have space in particular classes, they are permitted to invite additional students into those classes. So we potentially could have some students already going 4 days a week if they choose to go and it doesn't overcrowd the classroom. Because we literally had some classrooms that only had 2 students. So I've had principals contact, and I've just told principals, use your best judgment as long as you can keep your distance. And if you have students who could benefit or you think really need to be here, prioritize, invite them. So you may hear of some students going 4 days a week, and that is possible, and that would be by parent choice and if we have this space. But it's not That's not common practice, it's just if we have space.
Was the schedule we passed last week, the week before, pretty well accepted?
I believe it was, because this board had to operate, and I had to recommend within the parameters of what the state board passed on their recommendation. And as you see, I think everybody fell in line with what the state board directive said, but maybe one county, or maybe they all have now, but they've all pretty much fell in line now. So ours is, I think, the best of what we could do with what we had. And I did work with teachers, and I worked with a lot of different people.
Sound like Kanawha County got the call.
Yes.
And in reference to Mr. Berry earlier, the people that got shots in the county on the first go around, they will be able to receive the second. In the,
Now, I don't know about ones of us had to go out of the county, we'll get the second out, because we're already scheduled to get it.
Yeah.
They gave us the date, time to come to get it.
they gave, the ones they gave the first round, they're going to allot them to give the second round. But as far, I can't believe that a county the size of Nicholas, you have to go to another county.
Yeah, you would think it would be,
But in the school system, ours was not. You did not have to go out. It was all done in county.
well, it might help her get it faster since they're bringing the others back to the county too.
I hope they get it in quickly. I really do.
Anything else?
I'm good, unless anybody has questions.
Item 10 on this evening's agenda is reports. The SESC, the meeting has been postponed for this month. We'll meet in February. Mrs. Kaufman, you anything from Bright Horizons?
They did have their meeting, I was unable to attend this time.
Item 11 on this evening's agenda, delegations. Madam Secretary, I don't believe we have any delegations, correct? Okay, thank you. Items for future agendas. Future meeting dates, the LSIC meeting is scheduled for Monday, January the 11th at Summersville Elementary. We've got to reschedule that meeting, and so we have a rescheduled Wednesday, January 27th, 2021 at Nicholas County Board of Education office starting at 2 p.m., and that is for the purpose of conducting the superintendent's evaluation. Regular meeting on February the 1st, Nicholas County Board of Education office, and regular meeting on Monday, February the 15th, 2021 with the board office. So we do have two LSIC meetings to reschedule with the board. So we can schedule those. Well, we have a meeting next Monday night, which would be the first one in February. We'll set those meetings after that for when we can do those two LSIC meetings, if that's okay with you all.
There's no time schedule on those.
There's no time schedule. I will tell you that I have been working on the state committee with other school board members in regard to how boards assess themselves in their appraisals. And Nicholas County is steps ahead in many ways. We have a formula that we have our schools to look at when they come to present to us. Well, first of all, we're meeting with all of our LSICs. The law only requires that we meet with those that are low performing. We have no schools that are low performing, but we've been meeting with all of our LSICs. And our focus, which is now mandated in state code and state board of education policy, has to be on academic improvement. And we laid out a formula 2 years ago, Madam Superintendent, that our schools report to us, and they focus on the academic performance of their schools. So we've been ahead of the ball a little bit on that, but it's now coming into place where the other 55, all of the other counties, and I'm sure other counties are doing the same thing we're doing, but that we'll be held. We have to assess ourselves, appraise our performance based upon the academic performance of our students. So I was real pleased for Nicholas County that we're ahead on that one. So
We have a great curriculum team here.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate the curricular updates that we constantly receive, and that's very important to us. So we got one this morning, I think.
Tony and Sarah did
Yeah,
a phenomenal job.
Mrs. Glade sent it out to us this morning, so keeps us up to date on what's going on in the schools.
I had made a notation on my calendar that we had talked about maybe rescheduling the Glade Creek LSIC meeting for February the 9th. Was that?
I think you're right. Is President's Day on the?
It was on the 8th.
Well, if y'all want to go ahead and put that in for the 9th, and we had it scheduled, I think you're right, as I
Yeah, you do,
recall.
4 to 5, yeah, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I had that also.
February the 9th?
Mhm.
Okay, Tuesday.
That was Glade Creek.
Okay, let's go ahead and put that in, February 9th, Tuesday, at Glade Creek.
I had 4 o'clock, what time was it?
I had 5.
You had 5?
5.
5, okay.
5 PM. Madam Secretary, would you please make note that we will be meeting Tuesday, February the 9th at Glade Creek Elementary with the local school improvement councils at 5 PM. And then if you all want to go ahead and set tonight, we said in February,
For Somersville.
the Summersville Elementary, we have a meeting on the 15th.
We have to have those done by when, end of March?
Oh, no, that's superintendent's evaluation. No, we can do this. You want to do the other one, just set it for the 22nd of February
On a Monday.
on a Monday night? So,
That's gonna make it 4 board meetings in that month.
That's, I have a board meeting, on that night.
so we won't do it that night.
But I'm okay Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the rest of that week.
We'll do it Tuesday, the 23rd, or you want to move it into March?
Let's move it into March.
Okay,
That's just my opinion.
why don't we schedule that for March the 9th? How does that look on your calendar? March the 9th? It's a
Yes.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday, March the 9th, is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Tuesday, March 9,
It'll be at Somersville
at
Elementary.
Summersville Elementary School, the LSIC, 5 PM.
Yep, 5 PM.
5 PM, Madam Secretary, did you get that for Summersville Elementary? Yeah, we've done that. Okay, that's all the business we have for the board tonight. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting? Mr. Raymond moves, is there a second?
Second.
Mrs. Kaufman won that one. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Madam Secretary, we are adjourned at 6:46 PM.